We are back with the second entry in the countdown to Doomsday, and I did not take a month to upload it. Still not on pace, but that's a problem for the future. Today we are talking about The Incredible Hulk, the second movie in the MCU, and the one that deviates the farthest from what we know as the MCU formula. Although this movie never really felt different to me, it just has a lot less jokes. Either way, this was Marvel's second shot at attempting to save the company. And even though most people forget about this movie, it brought in a lot of characters that were actually integral to future plots. So, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and cover the one and only solo MCU Hulk movie. So the Hulk is a popular Marvel character. Hell, he might have been the second most popular individual character at Marvel at the time. That was probably why he got the 1970s live action show with Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk and the 2003 Hulk movie. So it makes sense that given the fact that the X-Men movies were already doing so well and everyone loved the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, they had to pivot to their next most popular character and wanted to use him for one of the movies to kick off this universe. Only there was one slight problem. Like I mentioned in my last video, Marvel sold off tons of film rights. They sold off the X-Men to Fox, Spider-Man to Sony, others that we're not really going to talk about, but Hulk was also included in that. His film rights were sold to Universal, but it's a little tricky because his production rights were actually given back to Marvel in 2006, but Universal held on to distribution rights. What that meant was that Marvel could make any Hulk movie that they wanted, but Universal was the one who actually sent it to theaters, and they got a much bigger profit gain than Marvel. Because think about it. Marvel does all the work, they spend all the money, they do everything to make this movie, and then Universal just sends it out there. They make profit off of just one person buying a ticket. It's like how we, wage slave every day. We do all this work, we make a little bit of money, and then the big guy up top, he takes a good chunk of what we bring to the table. And that's why we haven't had another Hulk movie since then. When Hulk was being made and when it was distributed, Disney hadn't officially owned Marvel yet. But as soon as they acquired Marvel, they said, nah, we're not going to give Universal free money. And I don't blame them, because if they had other ways of making money, I wouldn't want to waste my time on something that I'm not going to make as much money on. Especially considering how much of a box office failure this movie was. This was before Disney, and Marvel was just trying to make money. And unfortunately, in the pursuit of financial gains, they may have had one of their biggest fumbles early on. Part of the allure that got Edward Norton to actually be Bruce Banner on this movie was the fact that Marvel offered him a chance to go over the script that the original writer wrote and edit it a little bit. It's rumored that Edward Norton actually went through the script and added about 30 to maybe even an hour of more content. Clearly, he was very passionate about the Hulk. The only problem is, Marvel didn't like what he brought to the table. Apparently, Edward Norton wanted a lot more of a slow burn type of movie that focused a lot more on Bruce's psyche, while folks like Kevin Feige wanted more action and more chases to keep people engaged, with explosions and things you'd see in Michael Bay movies. And what that meant was that a bunch of the scenes that Edward Norton wrote didn't actually make it to the final cut. A few scenes did make it through though, like the one of him trying to control his anger with the the sensei in Brazil. I don't know what the proper word is for that. I'm sorry. He also wrote the scene where Bruce told Betty that he couldn't get too excited because, the green guy would come out. And apparently he also wrote that deleted scene of Bruce trying to commit suicide in the Arctic, where, we also see a vaguely Captain America shaped silhouette in the ice. But in general, his edits did not make it to the final script. So when he applied to the WGA for credits on the script, they denied it because apparently he hadn't contributed at least 50% to the script. He is an uncredited writer on this movie. And reasonably, this pissed off Edward Norton. Not only were his ideas ignored, but the WGA also didn't actually consider him a writer on the movie. So, he crashed out a little bit. He didn't market the movie at all, and I think he was really just done with Marvel at this point. And that's why the next time we see the Hulk, it looks like this guy. Genuinely though, I think the loss of Edward Norton was a huge fumble for the Hulk. Because I don't know how passionate Mark Ruffalo is about the Hulk. And obviously, he fits into the universe a lot more now. But it seemed that Edward Norton at least cared enough about the Hulk to want to focus more in on the personal journey of Bruce Banner. Because really, that is one of the things that I like the most about the Hulk. And I'll talk about this more during the plot section of this movie. But Bruce's relationship with the Hulk and his past trauma are some of my favorite things about the character. And it's just ignored in the MCU. Even if we didn't get another solo movie, if we had some way of seeing Bruce's actual relationship with the Hulk and his relationship with his past trauma, that could have helped Hulk's story arc across these movies be, actually something instead of just rushed. And we have no idea how the story would have changed for the Hulk if Edward Norton stuck around, because I'm sure that he would have wanted to keep on writing for the Hulk in anything that he was in the future. We talked about Norton's impact on the script, but what actually happened? TLDR, Bruce Banner is brought on for a military project to recreate the super soldier serum that created Captain America, though that was not what Bruce thought it was at first. And when he injected the serum into himself, the Hulk emerged. Bruce escapes government grasp for 5 years, but they find him in Brazil and he runs again. The movie becomes a chase movie where Bruce runs, becomes the Hulk, and escapes. Thaddeus Ross recruits Emil Blonsky to help capture the Hulk, but Emil, after getting a small taste of the serum in his blood, gets a bit of a roid rage and forces Samuel Stearns, who becomes the leader in the future, to give him even more of the serum, which turns him into the Abomination. This forces Bruce to transform purposefully to stop Emil, and then he runs off one more time into hiding. Betty Ross is also in this movie, but I swear her purpose is only to be this girl who's just head over heels for Bruce and does whatever he says. So I don't really feel like even mentioning her. Like, she immediately left this new dude that she was with for him, which like immediately. I don't know. It's been 5 years, and if you're willing to move on, I feel like if he shows up again, it'd be kind of crazy for you to fold that quickly. Like, I get maybe like, a month, be 2 months. No, not months. Maybe like a week or two. I get it, but like within like 30 minutes. So Marvel takes inspiration from the Ultimate Universe for the Hulk's origin, which makes sense because a modern-ish movie requires a modern-ish origin. But I have a complicated relationship with this movie. Honestly, I just have a complicated relationship with the Hulk right now, mainly because it forced Marvel to make the worst Captain America movie ever. Why can't I just get a good Sam Wilson movie? What the hell? I know what you're gonna say, all right. Anthony Mackie's not good as the lead actor. Be quiet. You're stupid, all right? You guys ever see those people online that just have like an insanely incorrect take, and then like someone responds, but instead of like being like reasonable, they say some dumb shit like, "Oh, you must have rode the short bus growing up." Like, what are you doing? How slow are you to, instead of just responding to a blatantly wrong take with, facts, and instead you just insult them? Like, what are we doing? Like, do you think shaming someone is going to change their beliefs? It's like that Star Trek episode with the four lights and the dude's trying to get him to say that there's five. Like, in my opinion, like, you could say there's five lights just to get him to stop, but like, you still believe that there's four lights. Just like insulting someone for a incorrect take is, that's not going to get them to stop believing it, even if, they stop saying it. And the belief is the problem, right? Right? Yeah. Look, here's my TED talk for the day, all right? Beat your opposition with logic and reasoning, not insults. All right? Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, the Incredible Hulk. How did I even get on that? Oh yeah, I called you guys stupid for talking about Sam Wilson. Yeah, see, you just look dumb doing stuff like that. That was my point. All right, nothing else. I have a complicated relationship with this movie simply because it does such a good job at certain things, but just completely ignores other parts of the Hulk mythos that I really like. And this is the same with the 2003 movie as well. The 2003 movie does a great job of capturing the trauma from Bruce's past and how really messed up his life really is. But the story's all over the place, and it just doesn't make sense at times. In the same sense, the 2008 movie has a much better structured plot, and I tend to think that this Hulk looks a lot cooler, but we just ignore all the interesting parts of Bruce Banner's life, in my opinion, besides the big green thing. And his messed up past and his relationship with the Hulk could have made for an even more compelling character than what he was. Because honestly, in this movie, he really was just some smart guy who got angry sometimes. As entertaining as it is to watch two kaijus go at it, sometimes I want some depth to my characters. This movie also continues the trope with Marvel Origins, where the villain has the same power set as the hero, but he's just evil and slightly weaker. Luckily, Thor and Captain America don't do the same thing in their origin movies, even though Captain America kinda does with the Red Skull, but Thor could not have done that unless they wanted to introduce Beta Ray Bill for some reason in his origin movie. That'd be crazy, right? But anyways, like I already said, I think that the 2008 Hulk looks much cooler than the 2003 Hulk. Not really because of the CGI, but because 2003 Hulk looks like, Scott Steiner tripled his steroid usage, and 2008 Hulk just looks like some dude who gets in the gym, lifts, eats well, like just look at him, man. He's so inspirational, I'm trying to get like 2008 Hulk, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but that scene of him walking towards Abomination is still one of my favorite clips from the MCU. Like it's so badass. There's not much that actually beats that few little seconds, man. It's just sometimes I just put on the movie just to see that little part. Like that's how much I like it. But yeah, I just want to say real quick, in general, the CGI in this movie, and of course, like I said in Iron Man, there's just something special about this old CGI. Probably because the artists were like working with a purpose and they weren't forced to, you know, generate a whole kaiju scene in like 5 weeks. So, like the scene where they're fighting in the grassy area, the Hulk legit looks real at moments, and I'm like, holy crap, that looks amazing. And this was in 2008. I'm sorry, I sound like one of them old heads, right? And I'm not trying to sound like that, all right? I can't sound older than how old I actually am. I don't want to do that. It's just every time I watch these older movies, I get a little mesmerized. So obviously, there's been no sequel, and I doubt we will ever have one unless Disney somehow buys Universal, which is never happening. So just prepare for another random other person's movie get ruined. So the closest thing we'll get to sequels is seeing these characters in other movies, including the Hulk, who's showing up in Brand New Day, of course. We don't know if he'll transform yet, but I assume so. I mean, we haven't seen the Hulk transform in a while. There's got to be something going on with him in that movie. He can't just be a scientist, or else we're all going to get mad again. Yeah, Thaddeus Ross had a pretty decently significant part in the universe, appearing in Civil War and Black Widow, and also in Captain America 4, but instead of it being William Hurt, it was Harrison Ford. And I bet that's the last time we see him, simply because I don't think Harrison Ford will probably want to do another movie in the MCU. Rest in peace, William Hurt. That recasting really brought a lot of controversy to the MCU, simply because they wouldn't recast T'Challa. So that's something to think about. And I just genuinely think that William Hurt was perfect for the role, so I kind of hope he doesn't return. Yeah, since we're already on the subject, yeah, Captain America Brave New World is basically a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, except without The Incredible Hulk, as we saw the return of Samuel Stearns as the leader. That wasn't that good. And we also saw Thaddeus Ross turn into Red Hulk. That was all right. That was pretty cool, actually. Pretty interesting action scene. But yeah, in the attempt to make a Hulk sequel that's not a Hulk sequel, and not even having Bruce Banner show up, we got a pretty terrible Captain America movie. So I blame Universal. I'm putting The Incredible Hulk in B tier. This isn't a terrible movie by any means. It just misses the mark on a few things regarding the Hulk, and I always felt that those things being missing in this movie were what always held it down for me. Of course, that's a take on the movie in a vacuum. If we really want to look at the significance of this movie beyond Ross and the Abomination, there's really nothing here. It doesn't really contribute much besides the Tony Stark scene at the end and that movie we were just talking about that I no longer want to bring up. If we erase this movie from everyone's minds We erased it from the timeline. We took it, we just flung it into a black hole. It never existed. Nothing would change about the universe. Maybe that one line in the Avengers movie where Bruce says that he put a bullet in his mouth and the other guy spit it out. But I mean, he could still say that. It's not like that hasn't happened in the comics too. So he didn't need that deleted scene to happen for that to be said. And William Hurt could have still been cast as Thaddeus Ross and shown up in another movie or just, show up in Civil War and it'd be the same movie. On top of that, maybe Captain America 4 would actually be a much better movie. Who knows? See, I'm talking about it again. I didn't even want to talk about it, but now I'm mentioning it again. I'm sorry. I really hate that movie. Just wait until I talk about that movie. Just wait. You know what? I think just us talking about that, I'm gonna move this movie down to C tier. I'm moving it down to C tier. The sheer insignificance of this movie is too strong for me to ignore. How'd you like that juxtaposition? I'm getting better. So yeah, C tier, final spot. Hey everyone, it's Editor Me here. I realized while finishing up this video that I completely forgot to even bring up the community tier list voted by you guys. It looks like last video, Iron Man was voted S tier by a landslide. Everyone seems to love this movie, and honestly, I don't blame you guys for that. It's a great movie. I put it in A tier, but it looks like we're starting off you guys' tier list with Iron Man at S tier. And as always, make sure to vote on what you think of the Incredible Hulk, and I'll update you guys in the next video. All right, back to past me. But yeah, that's going to be all for today's video. Next video is going to be on Iron Man 2. That one should be a fun one. I appreciate all the support on the Iron Man video. I thought this would be a little fun way to get ready for Avengers Doomsday, as that's going to be a big event for the universe. And I'm not sure if it's as hyped as Endgame or Infinity War was, but I know a lot of people are really at least intrigued by what's about to happen in this movie. So what better way to get ready for it than go through every single project, like I said. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit that sub button. Check out some of my other videos. I make tons of videos on Marvel, DC, other stuff. Recently, I've been reading a lot of weird comic books. Check out my Captain Confederacy video. It's great, I promise you. Second to last episode of that series coming out soon. If you like what you see here, hit the like button. Make sure to vote in the community poll. I'll have a link to it in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching.